Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 255 today of Level Up, 60 minutes, of course, of live Q&A, where your questions really do drive the show. Today, we're going to be talking about a hot topic, really, which is all about artificial intelligence and using automation in business. Both of these technologies are incredibly powerful, and they're really accelerating the true digital transformation of organizations all over the world, from healthcare through to manufacturing, design, and the creative world as well. If you're watching on YouTube, then you can find out so much more about what we do at APMG International in our channel. So do consider giving this video a like, please, and subscribe to find out so much more about that. Ella today, for everybody who's joining live, is over in the social chat, just seeing her over there now. She's already active. So do introduce yourself, please, and let her know your name and the city from where you're joining around the world. She will post some links so that you can vote up some questions that you would most like the panel to answer. And of course, for you to be able to add your own as well. If your question is selected, then your name's going to appear in the credits at the end of the show. So do get those questions in early and stay with us to see all of that happening. So let's jump in and meet our expert panel for today. Delighted to welcome back everybody actually today. Gira is our first returning panelist. She's the founder and CEO of Gira Group, where she leads a team who specialize in building uniform data protection, information security, compliance, risk programs, and so on from the ground up. She's worked across industries, and she's proud to have made the transition from being employed to building her own business in this space. So welcome back to Level Up, Gira. Great to see you.
Thank you. It's a fun topic to have today, and especially when it comes to cybersecurity and data protection, especially in Europe and worldwide. So looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. I'm kind of reminded of the phrase, with great power comes great responsibility. So we'll look forward to exploring that a little bit further. Melissa Subban is a people strategist at the HappyFactory, where as the founder, she's built a high-performing team around the delivery of things like organizational agility and agile change management and so on, carving out her own path. Melissa sets the tone with her team and her clients. Welcome back. Great to see you.
Thanks so much, Nick. Really excited to be here, and to add some of my opinions on agile transformation, digital transformation, and the impact on people.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Mart Rovers rejoins today, a regular panelist, of course, and familiar face to everybody. He's the president over at Interprom, where he's all about building cultures of collaboration in both his organization and those of his clients, and embracing and adopting new and emerging technologies at pace and scale. Welcome back to Level Up, Mart.
Thanks so much for having me, Nick. I appreciate being back. I found this quote from Stephen Hawking, and I thought that might be a good one to set the tone for today's episode. He once said, "Success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately," he said, "it might be also the last, unless we learn how to avoid the risks."
It's an interesting perspective, isn't it? And we've heard so many different people from all kinds of different disciplines, kind of saying this combination, it's a fantastic opportunity, but it does need, careful consideration. So I'm hoping that we might be able to explore some of those aspects, if you like, during our conversation today, as well as the kind of the basics. Thank you very much indeed, Mart. Dierk Söllner rejoins, again, a regular contributor, of course. He is a solopreneur with an enviable blue chip client base around the world, a long-standing professional business coach. He draws upon his domain experience in IT. And of course, he hosts the popular German language podcast as well, which is all about taking the transition between listening to things and what happens in your brain and how you remember things and how you put those thoughts into action, I hope, and I think anyway. So welcome back, Dierk. Lovely to see you again.
Good morning, Nick, and good morning to all viewers all around the world. I think there's nothing better in the world than starting the week with a call like this, with a conversation like this. Okay, I could have breakfast with my wife or go out into nature with my dogs, but such an interesting subject with such professional hosting or hosts and panelists is even more better, definitely. So good morning.
Thank you very, very much indeed. And thank you to everybody who's joining us online, wherever you are in the world. I can already see some of our regular viewers who are saying hello. So that's really great. Okay, jolly good. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Now then, we can't work without questions, and our audience provide the questions, but the person who feeds those questions into the panel and manages all of that complexity is our question master for today, who is Suchitra Jacob, of course. Welcome back, Suchitra. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Nick. Hello to the panelists and our viewers, and a very happy Monday to everyone.
All right. Okay. Well, now that we're all together, our team are online. We're all sitting comfortably, just about. So I think we should begin. Let's take our first question to the panel then, please, Suchitra.
Sure. So first question is from Ashish. How do you address concerns around security when we do automation?
It's a really good question, Ashish, because we're all bombarded with paid adverts from different platforms saying, come and use us to integrate your internal systems with this external provision and so on and so on. So it's a kind of a challenge to kind of think all of that through. Mart, why don't you start us off, and then we'll hear from Gira.
Addressing concerns around security when we do automation. In anything you do, you should address security, whether it's automation related or not. So let's start there and increase therefore the risk awareness in anything you do. At least think in terms of, so what am I doing now? Is there a risk to that? So it's very basic, but it's also a form of behavior, a mindset, I think is really critical.
Thank you so much indeed. It's having that mindset, isn't it? And really thinking about not just the opportunity, but also a potential consequence. Whereabouts are you sharing that data? Where is it actually going? And how is that endpoint managing their security? Is it better than yours? It might be, or it might be worse than yours. Who knows, really? Gira, what are your thoughts on this? You advise a lot of clients in this space.
Yeah, and I agree with Mart on that. Is a basic principle. It's not an add-on or extra or special for AI. So if you're doing the security requirements as you design your product or your service, then you're already considering some of the aspects of AI or in the AI systems. However, there are some more additional concerns and things that arise with AI is because it's self-learning in the generative AI space. And then you have to look into the boundary conditions and things. So like with the AI Act in EU, you're looking into different provisions there, like sandbox, threat modeling is a big part or will become a big part. If you're not doing a threat modeling in your product or service, then you should actually do it because it would highlight the risks that you will have with the AI systems. What are your boundary conditions? That becomes a big part in AI systems. And then using sandboxes and developing any other data protection requirements or privacy requirements there and address those before you actually push into production.
Thank you very much indeed. I might come back to you about threat modeling in a little while, just to explore that topic a little further, as not everybody may be that familiar with it. But in the meantime, Dierk, let's hear from you, and then we'll go to Melissa.
I think a great point from Mart and Gira. I would just want to add, I think that the consequences of AI, they are now for short-term looking, they are overestimated, and for a long time concerned, for a long time thinking about that, they are underestimated, and I think that makes it a little bit problematic, because all those guys are going on an AI using. Don't think really about the consequences regarding data security.
Thank you very much indeed. Great point. And Melissa, your thoughts, please.
So just from a people perspective, I found as a change manager, when we're doing transitions, that particular period of transitioning, whether it is from one AI tool to another, or whether it is integrating processes, using RPA or AI, just that particular point of transition is really a high risk when it comes to people doing new processes, handoffs, and just the data security perspective from that. So depending on your industry, every industry has different kinds of security measures and different kinds of things that they need to look at, both from a customer perspective as well as employees. My thoughts are just look at that transitioning period, because that is really important.
Yeah, it's all about trust and confidence, isn't it? So, those people today, if you're not talking about managing data securely and in a proper fashion, your customers may well be thinking that you're not. So I think it's incumbent upon us as service providers to be more explicit and to say out loud and to confirm and reaffirm, because this puts us in, it's actually a competitive advantage now to be able to do this. It is not an encumbrance for a business. It's a requirement for a business. So, you do really need to treat other people's data as you would your own and think all of that through. Eric, you mentioned an interesting kind of phrase a little earlier about threat modeling. I understand what the words mean, but how would an organization go about that? Is that something that they're best doing, with a partner, with a consultant to kind of guide them, or are there some self-help models that you can access?
Actually, both. So let me ask a question to everyone here in a very general terms is, how many of you have a security system in your homes? And why do you have that security system in your home? And if you can answer that question, you can actually answer the same thing in your businesses and in your companies to address the threat. So essentially, when you're looking at a threat in your product or a service, you're looking at what is going to impact, or in a bad way, in your organization, whether it's stealing your data, stealing your intellectual property, harming the company, losing of the business. And then you're focusing on how to protect your service, your business. And that's essentially the main question you're trying to answer. When it comes to the technology, because when it comes to AI, it's technology is what you're looking at here, or developing the technology you're looking at here, including the data, then you're involving not only the business people, but you're already involving your engineering teams, your developers, and those. And it might be that they already are doing some form of threat modeling, not very extensively, and that is what needs to be improved upon or built upon. From a skills perspective, I saw a skills question as well, so that kind of answers some of those requirements. But at the same time, from a question, Nick, you asked about self-help models or what can be done or how you can learn about threat modeling is Adam Schustak is a big guru on threat modeling. He's the best I have ever seen, and there are a lot of trainings and courses that are available. But when it comes to the designing and development, I actually see that people in the agile space are missing or not doing design properly. And if you don't do the design part properly, then you miss the threats and risk aspect into the product or service. So I think that is a big core aspect that needs to be improved upon or put focus upon when it comes to AI, and do the threat modeling that way.
Thank you very much indeed. That's super helpful. In the UK, we have a number of different organisations. There's the National Cyber Security Centre that offer really good advice in general terms for people to be able to consider. And also City of London Police, through their Cyber Griffin service, also run a range of practical and interactive engagements with clients to be able to explore these concepts further and start to make practical plans. And I think your metaphor of using your own home security is highly relevant, Gira, because Of course, in the past, policing was about, visiting somebody's home after, a theft had occurred, and then saying, well, you probably need to lock your front door. You probably need to close that window, or that wasn't such a good idea to go on holiday and close all the curtains in the house because it was really obvious that you weren't there during the day, this kind of thing. So the policing actually around the world, they're often involved in cyber crime and fraud, and it's worthwhile actually connecting locally in whichever country you're with to see what resources are available for you locally. All right, now then, talking about where people are around the world, let's have a look and see who's online, if we can do. That would be really great. So joining us today is a regular viewer, Idara, joins us from Abuja in Nigeria. Welcome to our colleagues who are in West Africa this morning. Lovely to have you online. Thank you, Idara, for joining. And we have Deepti, who's one of the APMG team, based in Bangalore in India, also joining us today. So welcome, Deepti. Lovely to have you online as part of the audience. And Ranganath also joins from the beautiful city of Bangalore in India as well. So excellent. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Now then, if you're watching us online and you've not introduced yourself, then please do so. Just let us know your name and the city, please, around the world from where you're joining, and then we'll get your questions into the panel. All right. Okay, very good. Let's move on, if we can, Suchitra, and we'll take our next question, please.
Our next question is from Anthony. What strategies can businesses employ to reskill and upskill their workforce to adapt to the changes brought by AI?
Okay, so thinking about this upskilling, at APMG, we're doing quite a lot of work actually internally to try and help colleagues learn about, first of all, and embrace different emerging technologies. Dierk, you do a lot of C-suite coaching for leaders to be able to help them figure out how they might do it themselves and also to help their teams do it. What are your thoughts on the strategies to reskill and upskill?
I think the most important thing is to start by identifying the skill gaps. Because you have to know where to go, and so you have to know where you are. So identify skill gaps, and based on that, you can work on personalizing learning path. So for each person, for some job profiles, personalize them. And I think you should give time and space to all those people. But not only give time and space, but also to measure and track progress. Just it would not be helpful to give them only time without a goal, without something to work on. So measure and track progress. I think it's really important to be sure you're on the right track.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Dierk. Some great advice there. Melissa, you also work in this space, helping people embrace and adopt new technologies. What are your thoughts?
Thanks, Nick. So a skills audit, as Dierk mentioned, as well as a training needs analysis and a personalized training needs analysis for each individual is really important. But I found now that humans have the ability to upskill themselves, to decide on, what they want to learn outside of the work environment as well is really key. So helping people do career planning for themselves actually enables them to take accountability and responsibility for their own career paths and what could be potentially happening, because the rate at which AI accelerates how business performs, what we do, how humans are actually doing their jobs is, exponential. So we need to empower people by career planning. So I would think that career planning is really important for individuals to take accountability and responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's often a missing link. The organization sees a commercial opportunity or perhaps, an innovation that could be working really well. So at an organizational level, people want to take that on, but they often, in offering kind of education and training to colleagues, they miss out the bit that says, what's in it for you? Okay.
Yes.
And that's really, really important, for us all. Sometimes, that natural human inquisitive, kind of nurse about thinking and exploring and wanting to learn new things. That's in everybody, of course. But it also needs to translate into a value proposition for the individual if they're truly going to invest in it and see that being recognized, if you like, by the organization. So we might come back to recognition systems in a few moments. So thank you, Melissa. Gira, your thoughts, and then we'll go to Mart.
Melissa, I completely agree. What's the value for me on the individual is a big part. When I was an employee, one of the questions I would ask in the interviews is, what is your growth plan looks like? Do you have something in mind as an interviewer, as well as an interviewee when I was changing jobs? Because I want to make sure that the company I'm joining has a growth plan for me. If not, then what does that look like? And do I want to join that company? Is there a value for me? There is a big part. So when it comes to reskilling and upskilling, the individuals are smart, but also businesses have their own requirements that they have to meet. So I think also, in addition to the accountability on both sides, there also needs to be a bridge where those two tracks align and run in parallel. It's like a train track, I would say, where they both have to run in parallel for the train to run successfully and without accidents. And that's what is very important. However, what I work a lot with SMEs, and the biggest challenge with SMEs is they want to have a lot of business value, but they don't put a lot of focus on individuals and training and upskilling. My biggest challenge in the training side of it is the HR would put a time limit, how much time an individual can spend on a training, because that's number of man hours of the company are accounted for. So I had in the past time limit of less than 20 minutes on an annual training. And that's not even contributing to reskilling and upskilling. That's just a natural basics that you do in an organization. So that is also goes back to what Mart said initially with the culture and the mindset of the company and the individual.
It's very true. I think that SMEs, see this acutely because in a large organization, in an enterprise organization, you might have multiple people doing pretty much the same job. And so to a certain extent, there's a little less immediate visibility when somebody is involved in learning and development, because the rest of the team can kind of cover that role. In an SME, sometimes it's just the one person, So when they're on holiday, well, things don't happen. Or when they're off sick, things don't happen. And when they're on training, things don't happen. So there's a much more immediate, kind of impact. But I think it's all about setting your horizon as a leader and saying, are you investing for this week, today, this hour, this moment, or are you actually investing for a better tomorrow? And you will see a return on that investment, so make sure that happens. And of course, the drawback is if you don't, then people just generally leave anyway. Kind of take that decision for you. Mart, what are your thoughts on strategies for reskilling and upskilling and so on?
Well, I would actually take a step back and say, so why don't we start with what's the AI strategy of the organization? And ask the question as in where is AI is going to happen in the organization? Who's going to be impacted by AI or based on our strategy? And then determine to what extent people are impacted. To what extent do we need to get them reskilled or upskilled because they're being impacted? And in parallel, I would say there needs to be enough transparency and awareness across the organization what is happening with AI. You don't leave the rest out that is not being impacted, because they still may be impacted in one way or the other, if not now, but in the future. So that is another thing. Communicate when it's about your strategies, and not only for upskilling and the reskilling. But again, these strategies all need to align, and it's about upskilling and reskilling, align to your organization's AI strategy.
Thank you very much indeed, Mart. Melissa, you wanted to add something?
Thanks, Nick. So just following on what Mart has said on jobs changing and what is the business goals. I think that's really important to consider, and to consider, whether there'll be any job displacements, and if the AI that's coming in is going to change, the percentage of jobs or the percentage of what someone does in their role. I think that's really important, because that then determines what skill sets required. And then I also want to make mention that as we move more and more into the AI world, into, machine learning, into things that's going to be automated, we have to look at what really makes us human, and how is that humanity going to be implemented into businesses in order to make that grow. So you may want to then focus your skill sets onto, the things that's now future skills, like, creativity, intuition. Those are things that we haven't really thought about before. And those are human skills that we now need to bring in to how we enable our workforce.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, panel. And thank you to Anthony for a really great question there about reskilling and thinking about those complementary skills, human-based skills that we need to develop to differentiate ourselves from the robots and make sure that we are bringing value that only human beings can bring to our organization. So thank you very much. Now then, if you're sitting watching and you'd like to put your question to the panel, now's the time to do it. So please do get those questions in. Of course, the whole show is driven by you, by the audience. You are the producers. So don't be shy. Ask a question. It can be straightforward. You might even like to share which of the various AI platforms you're using yourselves, what you like about them, their strengths and their weaknesses, and these kinds of things. So jump into the discussion and share your thoughts online with us. Thank you very much indeed. In the meantime, Charlotte, I do apologize, Suchitra, can we have our next question to the panel, please?
Sure. So our next question is from you, Nick. How are the panel using automation in their business, and what has been their experience of learning and implementing this technology?
So I wanted to get personal for a moment or two. Now, of course, many of you are consulting with other clients. So in the world of keeping anonymity preserved, please don't mention their names. But if you could share some of your experience, that would be absolutely brilliant. Dierk, let's start with you if we can, and then we'll hear from Gira.
Yeah, I use AI to improve my work and the results of my work. So for me, it's about supporting content, and it's not primarily about doing something faster, better. Even it leads to faster work, but for me, it's doing a better job, deliver better results. So maybe some examples. I run a podcast, and my recording platform provides me with a transcript, and I'm using AI to get a short summary, to get a larger summary, and to get even 7 quotes from my guest. And I should ask the AI tool for 7 quotes, because I only can use 3 or 4. So I want to have good, and I want to really good quotes, but I have to ask for more than I really can use afterwards. And for my training sessions, I now let the AI suggest further examples and explanations. So I can explain something, but I improve my work by getting more examples for explaining all the things I should explain in my trainings. And maybe the last one, I go into dialogue with the AI when new topics arrive in my consulting and training services. So I'm using AI as a sparring partner, and that's even you have to learn to speak with people, with human beings. So you have to learn to speak and to get into dialogue with AI.
Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I really enjoy the transcriptions and the model's ability to summarize. It's a very, very helpful, tool to be able to use in so many different situations. So completely can relate to that. Thank you so much indeed. Gira, and then we'll hear from Mart.
Yeah, very similar to Dierk, but also on a broader scale is I do a lot of project management side of things using AI. So like also testing different products. So like Odin AI or other similar products to say, generate my project management cycle for me instead of using Gira, which is what traditionally most companies use. And then also from a content development perspective, so I would sometimes say, okay, create an outline for this topic, and I would give prompts. Additionally, I will also compare results from different GPTs and Copilot and Bard, because even though you provide them the same resource, the outputs are different. So it gives me a better ability to say, pick and choose different contents from different places. Let's say Copilot puts resources or bibliography better than ChatGPT, but ChatGPT gives you a better outline of content or a book that you want to write. So it's interesting how the outputs come into play. I also use Adobe products for graphics and such, and with the generative AI concept there with Firefly and such. They create amazing images that I don't need to have a creative director and a creative person to generate. I can do it by myself. So it actually brings value to the company itself for me, that I'm not paying extensively someone, because graphic designers are very, very expensive in that space. But also the challenge when it comes to the clients and such is, we already have seen some of the cases around using of AI in the creative space in Hollywood, and some of the cases in India there, where there is a issue with creative writers, that their jobs are getting displaced. So I think there needs to be a balance of what you're trying to do versus, is it ethical and is it interesting and intuitive.
Indeed. And in the performing arts, of course, there was quite significant pause in production, because creative people, whether they were writers or, they were working with script, or indeed actors themselves. I think recently one movie showed a retrospective of the actor when they were younger, and it was generated from images of the actor being in a previous movie. So they no longer went for making the young actor look older with makeup. They actually hired an old actor and reused some of the footage from when they were younger and generated, those scenes from there. So it's terribly complicated where the lines are actually drawn, between the original thoughts and the owner of the image rights and all of those kinds of things. So thank you for highlighting that. That's very helpful. Melissa, please. I do apologize. Mart, and then Melissa.
Just quickly about ChatGPT, which was my first exposure, as in when it was broadly introduced. For wordsmithing, it's fantastic. For example, for website content. But my very first experience was not so good, because very quickly it became clear that they stopped modeling in 2021. And the most recent information cannot be found, in particular in this case for around business relationship management. I was interested in that. And the other part, I heard from somebody who was putting a will together, personal will, and turned out that some of the legal language used was not actually accepted language in a certain country. In other words, be really, really careful with, and don't think it's all true. What comes from asking all these questions and prompting, of course, and get some answers.
Yeah, absolutely right.
The two sides to it.
Yeah, most definitely. And the higher the stakes, by the way, the I would suggest it's always worthwhile consulting an expert and getting them to have a look at something. If it's very high stakes, then it needs to be right, okay? Not just appear correct, if that makes sense. Melissa, your thoughts about using automation in business?
Thanks, Nick. So I'll give you some answers based on clients and some work that I've done in change management. So RPA is really popular at the moment in small business or small medium enterprises, and companies are using things like smart tech next because it's almost a plug and play option with new front ends. And then from a customer perspective, really important now, chatbots or popular. People are using chatbots and building chatbots that's now personalized for each particular product or service that they have. And then from marketing, so marketing campaigns, I've used it in my business to develop marketing campaigns for myself, and gave me really interesting ideas. And then, just to develop pictures, because I know I don't have to really worry about licensing then when I'm using pictures for social media posts. And then in the finance sector, really interesting use of AI to detect fraud. Looking at biometrics that's coming in, facial recognition software that's being, pulled in both from government as well as, the financial institutions themselves, and then matching it together. So that really is being put into play at the moment. And then from a healthcare perspective, I have heard that, diagnosis is now being used or being brought in. So AI being used for that. And then I think in the manufacturing industry, a lot of predictability. So AI is being used to look at, and data science is actually being used to look at, why is this working? Why is that product not being sold? How can we do things better? What's going to happen if we do this, and plug in all of those dynamics. So that's, coming in. And then if I have to think about what's my biggest learning, and as a change manager, it's going to be implementing proper change management, because if you don't involve all the relevant stakeholders, no matter what you implement, it's really not going to go well for you. So
absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. We might try and find a link to, I think you said smart techniques. So we might try and find a link to that for the audience as well. Dierk, your thoughts?
Yes, I want to add just one point I forgot on my last statement, and I call it successful intelligence or smart intelligence for my work as I am using when I'm using AI. So every result from the AI is critically checked by me. Is it right? And above all, does it fit to me and to my story? So you should not see a difference. You should think, everything he's talking about comes from his brain, but that's not the way, but it's checked by me. So I will call it successful intelligence or smart intelligence.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful whirlwind tour around some of the different applications of automation and also of AI. I think one of the most useful and powerful applications of automation for SMEs is really about being able to join disparate systems together and exchange information between them in some fashion or another. More and more organizations offer APIs and the ability to be able to pull and push data so that you can repeat to a high quality and improve your customer service is one of the joys of it. So if you've not explored that area of automation yet in your business or in your service offering, then please consider doing that, because it does offer some significant benefits to a small and medium-sized organization that wants to grow and wants to be bigger. On the chatbot side of things, APMG's experience is that our candidates, when they're under pressure and they're just about to take their examination, they actually prefer to talk on chat than they do to have a telephone call, which is what we used to offer. Now, this may be because our exams are taken in more than 150 countries every month. So there's a lot of people there for whom English is not a first language. So perhaps that's the reason. But also, I think it's the immediacy of the response. And when you need information, even basic information, immediately, then you need it immediately. So getting that responsiveness into whatever text bot offering that you're providing is very, very important. Thank you very much indeed, panel, for answering that question so openly and giving us your experiences to date. Suchitra, if we can, let's move on. We'll take our next question to the panel.
Next question is from Penelope in Bristol. Where would the panel suggest an individual starts to incorporate AI and automation in a small organization?
Okay, so somewhere to begin for a smaller organization, perhaps incorporating AI and automation into daily work. Ira, where would you begin?
So for a lot of things, as your Nick suggested, there are tools and technologies available and how you integrate. So before you even begin, make an assessment of what you're using today in your organization. So let's say if you're using Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, those tools, those products already have portions of AI and AI automation being used. So you don't need to bring in another product or service to integrate. They self-integrate quite well with each other. So I think that is a big part of start using AI or AI automation. But I will actually make a correction. In today's world, there is nothing about start using because you're already using AI. If you don't know about it, is the question here. So I think making an assessment of what you already have and what you need before you start bringing in, adding more tools into the system, because as you add more tools, it creates more complexity, it increases the challenges, it increases the risk. And I should highlight the fact that more automation you have, more regulatory compliance you would need to comply with. GDPR is very, very keen on automated systems and pushes on how there are those decisions are being made and impact individuals is a big part of that. So I think assessing what you need is important.
Yeah, you make a really good point, actually. We are already all using AI. It's just implicit rather than being explicit, perhaps. If I could use that kind of illustration as an example. It's really fascinating, this whole area of considering the ecosystem that you're in. And you're quite right here around, look, if you're using, the Google platform, Alphabet services, then look across there and see what you can already do today. There's a wealth of support and extensions to how you're using things. And if you're in the Microsoft camp or the Apple camp, equally so, they are all ecosystems and they're all working hard to deliver greater degrees of integration and automation to everybody. So thank you very much indeed. Melissa, your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Doug.
Thanks, Nick. I'd like to add on to what Ira said into looking at what do you need? And when you ask yourself, what do I need? Ask yourself, what makes me crazy? What keeps me up at night? And what really frustrates me in getting things done? And go look there. Go look at what you have at the moment, or what systems, processes, or tech do you currently have that you can either add on to, or maybe you didn't even know it exists, that Google offers this or Microsoft offers this, and just ask around. You'll be surprised at how much is available and at your disposal. So my thing is, look at what keeps you up at night and what you hate doing, and go do that. Because in a small organization, you're kind of like doing everything all by yourself. You may as well pick the ones you don't want to do.
Okay, so it's as good a start as any, isn't it? Where is the pain? Try and treat the pain first and then move on from there. Okay, Dierk, your thoughts?
First, I want to thank Melissa for giving a a great name for that. I would have called that what you said, identify suitable use cases. And that's really annoying me. So, and in addition, I think you should start small and experiment. Just go on, try in small steps. We all know that from agile working, start small and experiment. And once again, just to repeat, measure and track progress. Don't let them play around. It's good to have time and space to let them play around, but measure and track progress.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you so much. And if you are adopting automation, particularly automation, here's a little tip. Make explicit error trapping an important part of your work, okay, in automation, because sometimes the alerts are very good when things go well, but they're not necessarily that explicit when something that you thought you'd automated weeks ago actually wasn't working very well. So do look out for that. Spend some time testing and read up on how to do that. There's some amazing resources online available for you now, especially on the YouTube platform. If you're on YouTube already, start looking for RPA, robotic process automation, begin there, or indeed for artificial intelligence, and begin there and start reading up. All right, very good. Thank you very much indeed, Penelope. Great question, by the way, to put into the panel. Suchitra, if we can, I think this is going to be our last question for today. Let's put the next question to the panel.
Question from Peter. Can the panel share some handy AI tools they use on a day-to-day basis?
All right, so things that you have in your kit bag, everybody. I'm going to use an image example for myself. I don't use it every day, but I do use it every week. So I use a product called Midjourney, and it's a prompt-based LLM, and it generates images. And what I love about it is it also produces a physical publication every month, and I subscribe to it, and it's only a few euros, and it has some incredible images that people far more talented than I am have been able to describe in words in a prompt, and the Midjourney algorithm has then generated, and they have tuned iteratively and so on to produce some absolutely remarkable results. So if you are a user of Discord, you can find Midjourney as part of your Discord channels. Okay, so that's one that I use. Dierk, what's your kind of handy AI tool that you use frequently?
I'm using Microsoft Pilot, Copilot, not Pilot. I'm the pilot, Copilot. And I think what we already discussed is it's an ecosystem. I'm working with Microsoft products, and I think it's really good to have Copilot within a Word document or a PowerPoint sliding production and something like that. And next thing I want to share is Perplexity. I'm using Perplexity because I'm not only looking for pictures, I'm looking for text, for content, and I love Perplexity because I always get, I think, 3 or 5 of something citations. So I get the source from that, and I really like that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Copilot is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous, and very, very worthwhile to explore that if you've not done so already. And Melissa, your thoughts, then we'll go to Mart.
Well, mine are very boring answers. I'm going to say ChatGPT, and I think Canva. Personally, to look at social media, it's now got integrated picture, development, and it's learning, so it's getting better every time I use it. And then, Meta is now, I don't know, it's forcing me to use it. Because it keeps appearing on WhatsApp and other social media platforms. So, I'm using Meta at the moment, and those are mine.
Yeah, absolutely right. The the way in which these things kind of start off and then you use it a little bit and you think, oh, that's good. And then you use it a little bit more and a little bit more and so on and so on. And, very soon you're actually kind of referring to it on a, highly frequent basis. So yeah, great. Thank you very much indeed. And I totally agree about Canva, by the way. If you're, even if you're a very experienced graphic designer, using it as a way to be able to share content with your clients. Every client can get Canva, they can get their head around Canva and the brand kits and so on. And it's so much better than the past where a designer had to specify a Pantone reference, in print and then print a little color block and then move on to the next, kind of description of the font. Well, it's all in Canva now. And you can just do it there. Your client can access it and use it in the way that they want to. So it works really, really well. So thank you. Big shout out to the developers there. It's a brilliant product. Melissa, your thoughts, please. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did mean Mart. I'm so sorry. Yes, okay. I lost my place a little bit. Well, Mart, thank you very much.
You took the words out of my mouth. I'm going to say, same as Melissa, quite boring. I'm using ChatGPT and indeed Canva, also Trello. It's a project management tool with some nice AI-based features, and then Planning to automate anything that you want to put on social media.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Well, brilliant panel. Thank you so much for your views. I think we need to upgrade the host to an AI bot after today's getting muddled up a little bit. We'll see what happens. Watch this space. We do have some new developments for Level Up, which we're going to be talking about in a few moments. But before we get to that point, let's get our reflections from the panel on today's discussion. So Melissa, if I can, I'm definitely going to come to you first. All right. And then I'm going to go to Mart. What are your reflections on today's episode?
Really interesting to learn what my peers think about, the AI world and RPA. Really interesting discussions on looking at threats coming in, as well as, that's something I'm going to have to consider because I didn't really consider that. And to, reiterate, people are really important. Upskilling ourselves, understanding what is happening for our own career. I think that's really important. And as you said, Nick, I'm going to have to maybe think about automating myself.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much indeed. Mart, your reflections, please, and then we'll hear from Dierk.
It's a great topic, Nick. Thank you, APMG, for choosing this one. I think we can have an almost daily conversation about this, about the speed of the AI and how it's taken over. Along those lines, Dave Waters once said, once you trust a self-driving car with your life, you pretty much will trust artificial intelligence with anything.
It's very true. It's very true. I used to have a presentation deck which had an Airbus A380, the view from the glass window when you're waiting to board an aeroplane, and you can see the pilot and the co-pilot sitting in their seats, and they're going through their pre-flight checklist. And my question to the audience was always, would you board an aeroplane with no windows for the pilot to look out of? Yeah. Now, the reason why I chose the A380 was, of course, it's all fly by wire. So there is no direct control that the pilot has over the machine at all. It's all via computers. Mm-hmm. And so it's quite interesting that as human beings, this trust factor is very important. The pilot being able to see out the window is a really useful thing. Us being able to see that there is a pilot is a really useful thing. So trust is everything in these circumstances. So I agree with that. Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Dierk, your reflections, please.
So I'm really thankful for this episode, for this morning. I have to decide whether to go with my dogs outside or stay here, and I really appreciated this time and this meeting. So as Melissa said, I learned very much, and I think all the viewers outside the world, they learned something because of different perspective, different knowledge, and I think really thank you. And Nick, as I always say, I learned something too.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We do. It's a fabulous community level up. We appreciate your contribution today, Dierk. So thank you very much indeed. Ira, your thoughts, please, and then we'll hear from Suchitra.
Thank you so much, APMG, for organizing this. It's quite interesting to hear not only from the panelists, but also listen to the questions that people are asking your teams and us here. Biggest part for me is to learn different perspectives, because when it comes to cybersecurity or data protection, culture, different perspectives plays how people interpret different things. And so when it comes to artificial intelligence or automation, what automation looks like to me is different than what automation would look like to you or to Mart or to Melissa or every other human being in business. So I think it's important to learn that perspective when it comes to AI automation. One thing I do want to reiterate that I said is consider threats, consider risks of what you're doing, and look what you already have before going out and going crazy with different products and services that everybody is developing today with AI.
Thank you very much indeed. And on the screen, by the way, for everybody, and thank you, Ira, is a great start for you. It's in collaboration with the British Computer Society, who are the chartered professional body for IT in the UK. So do have a little look at that. It's a relatively new certification that does allow you to understand better the world of artificial intelligence and start to make some headway, personal headway and organizational headway into that space. So if you're looking for a great starting point, I can thoroughly recommend that. Suchitra, it's been a fascinating journey today through these two related worlds of AI and automation. Your reflections on today?
I agree, Nick. It's been a great show. And of course, we do have a lot more questions, and this is one topic we can always revisit. Thank you to the panelists and our viewers.
Absolutely. So if your question did not get asked today, then don't worry, it's going to go into the question bank and it will come back up again in another episode in the future. Well done, everybody. On behalf of our producers online, thank you very much indeed, panel, for giving us your time so generously today. We really appreciate it. And by the way, if you have thoughts, and related to any of the opinions and ideas and suggestions shared by the panel, then do reach out to them on LinkedIn. You can do that through the APMG International website. Just look for events, and then you'll see today's event, and a little link will be there for you to click through and make a professional connection with any of the members of the panel. I would thoroughly recommend that. Very good. Now then, over on the APMG International website, you can, of course, search for the answers to all of the questions that have been previously asked on all of the different APMG events. There's more than 2,300 of these now. It's totally free of charge, and it connects you with experts rather from all around the world. Don't forget that you may also listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. Looking ahead as to what is coming up this Wednesday at 2 p.m. in the UK, we're hosting a project management skills lab, and they are going to be discussing custom prescriptions for project managers. It's a registered event, and full details are available on the APMG website. So do head over there to the events page and look that up and register yourself online. Friday the 21st, well, we're going to be returning to the very popular topic on how to become a PMO in 2024. That's the second of those discussions. Before a week today, on Monday the 24th, we're going to return to the world of becoming a business analyst and exploring career options there. Don't forget that you may head over to our YouTube channel and give this video a like, please, and do subscribe to find out so much more. It costs you a moment of your time, and it really helps other people discover the content that APMG provides. And just write to us and ask us, and we'll send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. So thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you next time.